Hi everyone. So I have in front of me the first exercise from Fenaroli's book of Partimento, Partimenti should I say. And this is, as you can see, all written out in the bass clef. So if you're not sure about what bass clef is, you can see, if I just sort of get my markup toolbar, I'll just, sorry, I don't know why it's necessary to sing while I do this. I'm just going to put a few little helpful things. So this is a G, if you don't know what that is. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit more. Oh, that's a bit too small, that's a bit too large. Split the difference. There we go. Okay, so this is a G. Maybe I can make this smaller. Who knows? Okay, that's a G. So ba ba da da. So when the Saints, right? Ba ba da da boom ba da 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 ya da 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 boom ba da da ya da da boom. So yeah, that's how that goes. Now, what are these numbers going on here? What's that all about? Look at those. These are what we call figures, and if this is the bass, then these are the figures, and the result is figured bass. Okay, I've talked about this before. Now these figures are a little bit funny in the sense that we have 8. We don't normally have 8 on things, and that tells you that we want to start with a G in the melody, and we also want to end with a G in the melody as well, so we have an 8 there. Other than that, it's pretty standard figured bass, which of course may not help you if you don't know what figured bass is or how it works. So what these numbers represent, as you may have guessed from my octave example, is they represent the intervals. However, this is slightly complicated by the shorthand, right? So if you see nothing, you can assume that is what we call a 5/3 chord, and a 5/3 chord is a fifth and a third above the bass, which means a triad. Okay, and which triad it is will depend on where it is within the key. So on a G, and we have a 5/3 chord, there's nothing written there, we can assume it's a 5/3 chord. That must mean that it is indeed a G, B, and D, like that, okay? Which is a G major chord. So we can start to write a little bit of a chord chart out. So we know that's a G major chord there, there's a G as well. Let's just do chord symbols. Don't hate me. Don't hate me if you know about figured bass. G there. So we start to populate like where these ones are in the music, and we want to end on a G chord there. And anything else? Any other G chords? G majors? There's one there. Lovely. Okay. Right, so hopefully you can understand that much. Now, the other thing that we have here is something which is a 6. And the 6 is the other main type of chord that we're going to come across. It's known as a 6/3 chord. And just like a 5/3 chord is 5 and 3, we miss out the 6. No, we miss out both 5 and 3. It's a shorthand. So that means we add the 6th and the 3rd to the chord, which ends up with, if we add a 6th and a 3rd, we have the notes, in this case it's B, and then we add a 3rd above that, which would be D, and then we add a 6th, which would be G. So it's actually still a G chord, right? Okay, just with a G in the bass. So if we wanted to write it as a chord symbol, it'd be G/B, like that. These are a bit big, aren't they? Can I make them smaller? There we go, lovely. Right, so this one here, this is a 5/3 chord, that's on C, so we know that has to be a C major chord. By the way, if I'm saying triad, I kind of mean, I'm trying to just say that it's basically a plain major or minor chord, such as, you know, as opposed to something like a you know, minor 7th or a major 7th or something like that. Just because in jazz, obviously, a lot of the time we just play these funny old chords that have like lots of notes in. Right, okay, and then this one is also a 5/3 chord. Now, what does that sharp sign mean? That sharp sign means that the 3rd is sharp in this key. This is not actually strictly speaking necessary, because we have, if we go a 3rd up from there, we have a sharp sign in the key already in a key signature. So we know that's already an F sharp. It doesn't mean sharp it again. It's just, I think this is Fenaroli preparing yourself to see this figure. And you will see it especially in a minor key, because in a minor key, the natural minor scale, the 5 chord, is not usually major. Okay? So, these are the chords of the first bit. 3 chords and the truth. Nothing too complicated, right? So you might say, why are they therefore written out in this weird sort of way? And that's a very good question. It's just the way they used to do it. I think the value of it as well is that it helps you to think not so much about what the chords are. All this idea of that being a G/B is later. They would think of the 6/3 as being a totally different chord from the 5/3, or the 5/3/8 in this case. Why is it written 8/5/3 at the end there and just 8 there? Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I think the reason for this is that he's strongly suggesting that's a melody, which is basically G, 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 and then F sharp, and that's why the sharp's there. So he's, you know, nothing in this book is random. So when we actually come around to doing our realization of this first Partimento, that's something we should bear in mind. He's strongly implying a melody line. G, 8, G, it's a 6th above that bass note. G, it's a 5th above that bass note. F sharp, which is why we got the sharp there. I reckon that's what's going on. So in a way, these things are a little bit like a puzzle. And if you like puzzles, like crosswords and things like that, that's part of their attraction. I'm actually useless at crosswords, and I'm rubbish at chess as well. I always feel I should be good at chess. People think I should be good at chess, but I'm awful. So there is a overlap with chess, I would say, in the sense that a lot of this stuff is about knowing what the moves are. By which I mean you can know how the horsey moves, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can play classic English game, you know, or understand the complexities in mid-game in chess. I have a friend who's a FIDE master, and he says that so much of chess is about knowing repertoire. And then I think about what I do, and I say, oh yeah, it's basically about improvisation. It's not necessarily about here's a blank piece of paper or here's every chess move in the world. Use a computation to work it out. That's impossible. The best computers in the world can't do that, and the human brain doesn't really work like that either. In fact, what you have to do is you have to learn the repertoire of things that are likely to happen, which is why there's all these stories about like chess masters being beaten by beginners who just don't know what is the right thing to do, so they confuse the chess master. But anyway, that's another thing. Okay, so now we're going on to this thing here. Why a sharp 6? Okay, so this sharp 6 again is kind of precautionary. A 6th above the A is F sharp, and again we have that F sharp here. So what kind of a chord is this? Well, so if we have a 6/3 chord, which is what this is, so it's a 6, we don't write 3 out because it's a shorthand. Then we get A, we get C, and we get F sharp. A, C, F sharp. Well, that is basically a diminished triad. So we'd write, this is slightly awkward, F sharp diminished / A. Okay, that's what it would be in chord notation. You can see that the chord notation is actually quite cumbersome for this. I don't really like writing out chords for this sort of stuff. So there we go, that goes in there. Maybe I'll do that underneath just to save a bit of space. There we go, lovely. Right, okay, the next one is going to be G/B. So this is a 6/3 chord, same as that, only in a higher position. 6/3 chords tend to be first inversion triads of various kinds as we'd understand them today. By the way, Bach, so Rameau's theory of fundamental bass, the idea that this is an inversion of that, comes out, if I remember correctly, in about was it 1730 or something like that. You know, while within Bach's lifetime, Bach was like, I don't really buy this. I don't know if Mozart really bought into it either. So certainly, like lots of composers of this era thought of these as being fundamentally different things. So what I'm doing here by putting neat little chord symbols next to it is pretty alien to the sort of thing or the sort of way that they would have thought back then, as far as we can tell. Okay. One of the first sort of chord chart systems, it was recorded, I think Fernando Saw used it. It's known as the Alphabeti system, but it's a bit confusing because like all the chords had like alphabetical sort of names given to them, like A, B, C, D, but these weren't A, B, C, D as we understand them. They were just like, this is you know, of a list, this is chord number 1, this is chord number 2. Part of the confusion for that is, I think, you know, obviously Saw was Spanish, and Spanish people don't use the same sort of note system as we do in places like the United Kingdom and the States. Germany have a slightly different version of it as well. So B, for instance, is written as H, which is really confusing. I don't know why they do that. So in the Romansh language speaking countries, it tends to be do, re, mi, fa, sol. Okay. So for instance, we'd be currently writing something in sol majeur in French. So the key of sol, basically. And then there's the original 18th century solfeggio system, which is totally different and derived from Guido Arezzo's system in the Middle Ages. So there you go. I won't talk about that today. So we've done that first bit of the chart there. Okay, I'll play it on the guitar in a minute. I don't know how long I'll go through this whole thing. I'll just keep going. I don't want to make it the world's longest and most boring video. Okay, let's take this one here. So what's this going to be? Not a G. So 6/3 chord above an F sharp. So you have an F sharp, an A, and a D, which makes it D/F sharp. Bob Dylan's favourite chord. Hooray! There we go. Let's pop that in there. Right. There we go. That would be then a D, because it's a 5/3. So it's just, you know, the chord of the bass. Those ones are easy. What's this one? It's going to be E minor/G. Well, hopefully you're starting to get a feel for how this works. It's not that difficult. I'm wondering if I can actually... Sorry, it might not be the most readable chord chart in the history of the world, but oh, we don't want that. So this is D/F sharp again, same chord, and then G. And I think what I might do is I'll just have a go at playing through this so you can hear it. Let's get my guitar. So I'm just using cowboy chords basically here, and one thing I want to be careful of is in the first bar is to do something about this melody line. So then presumably back to G again. Strictures of classical voice leading. If you have a leading note, that's the 7th of the key, so F sharp in this case, you really want to resolve it back up to the root. Okay. So with this G in the next bar, that would be the obvious thing to do. Okay, I'll just flesh out the chords a little bit. Notice that I put a little suspension. The golden D, as it's known, D sus4. Mi, be, da, da. There's a little decoration. Okay, now we jump up. Okay, and then this chord. Sorry. Okay, I'll just play that through that again. So this is what we have so far. Sorry, I made a complete mistake here, haven't I? Look, that doesn't sound right at all. That should be, that note is an E. C/E. Of course, everybody will have spotted that in the comments, right? Ooh, let's pop that back. So with parallel 6/3 chords, you have to be a little bit careful of parallel fifths. So if I play it like this, there's a fifth in there. So I'll probably just keep it in this position. Can we do that? Yeah, okay. So we've got an interesting little chord here. What's going on? Sorry, when I said this position, you don't want to play these two as open voice triads because you'll get a parallel fifth. Play them as closed voice triads, okay? If you know, be careful of your doublings. In general, I think 3 voices is the easiest on the guitar. Right, what's going on here? Okay, so this is an F sharp bass, so this will be a D/F sharp. Nice and easy. Get rid of that. Now, this one here, the sharp is on the 6th. Now, the 6th of the bass note E is C. C is not normally sharp in this key, so actually this is a chromatic chord, and this is the one that I just played. So this will be a 7 slash, well, actually, let me just think, because that's probably not a 7th chord really, is it? We have an E, we have a G, and we have a C sharp. E, G, C sharp. E, G. So this is really a diminished triad inversion, isn't it? So, which inversion is it? I think 6/3. Usually that's the first inversion, right? So this is kind of a C sharp diminished over E. In practice, you could play an A7 there, and it's fine. So an open A7 will be all right. I'll just stick that in there. It's a little bit more familiar. In the same way as if you're not quite sure about this business, you can just write D7/A. That's fine. Nobody's going to have a problem with that. No kittens will be killed due to bad counterpoint. Okay, and then lastly, you can see how busy the chord chart's getting, can't you? And then we're going to just do a D here. Ooh, hello. Hopefully the 5/3s are easy. Okay, oh, we got a new type of chord, a 6/5. What's that all about? So 6/5 chords are 6/5 chords. We don't write out the third, but that means they're essentially 6th chords. Now 6th chords, if you're a Barry Harris student, you'll realize are also inversions of 7th chords, okay? So a C sharp 6/5 in this key will actually be a first inversion. Sorry, have I got this right? Yeah. It's like a first inversion dominant 7th. So it'll be this kind of thing. You find a lot of these sorts of things in, you know, composers like Giuliani. So how I choose to voice that. This might be a nice voicing with the 7th on top. Paying attention to the melody, right? And then we go to A minor. That's A major. Okay. Are we modulating to A major? Or are we modulating to A minor? Let's have a look. Sometimes it's not obvious. So let's just write this chord out. This will be an A7/C sharp. There we go. Look how much cleaner the figured bass notation is. Oh my god. Right, okay, D. And then this will be, we have to decide whether this is going to be A or A minor. So this is kind of like a little bit like a half cadence. I think we're coming down to an A chord, A7 specifically in that bar. So it's an A major, but it's in the key of it's a dominant chord, right? Sorry, I'm not making myself very much sense. We've modulated now to the key of D. And now we're looking at, in the key of D, the A chord is major. We could go, I think this is, doesn't sound right to me. So if you ever listen to the rest of the bass line, instinctively I want to go major. So we play the whole thing. Just the block chords. And then very simple stuff, right? And then I'm transposing some of these as well to show you can do that. So I was really reading the chord chart actually at this point. Notice that these ones are a bit longer as well. These are half notes while these are quarter notes. Yeah. Does feel like it's wanting to go into that key, doesn't it? So I think A major there. And then we get another A major there. And then we get this beautiful sharp 4 chord, which I always think of as the Pat Metheny chord. Sharp 4 is short 4, 6, sharp 4, 2. It's a third inversion dominant 7th. So if we write it out in slash notation, it'll be that. I'm sorry, what I'm talking about. Yeah, A/G. Who doesn't love that chord? In fact, a lot of this harmony will be familiar to people who've worked on things like Pat Metheny tunes. Pat Metheny likes this kind of harmony. So you get this kind of thing. And then, sorry. That's a G6 there. So let me just write this out. This will be another one of those. Sorry, one of those being one of these. No, that one. There we go. Pop. Let's get rid of this. Hey, go away. Right, there we go. Lovely. Right, D. That one again. D/F sharp. And then G6. And in classical harmony, G6 is generally used on the subdominant degree, so on 4. So this is kind of going 4, and then 6/4 is a chord with a 6 and a 4th in. There's no third in this one, so it's A, and then the 6th is F sharp, and then the 4th above A is D. Okay, so actually what you end up with is F sharp A D. Well, it's a D major chord, but it's got an A in the bass. Okay, again, slightly weird if you're used to sort of doing jazz harmony, and if I was to write this out as a jazz sort of chord symbol, it'd be D/A like that. There we go. And then this is A major, and so, yeah, they put the sharp sign in there. I don't know why they didn't put the sharp sign in there earlier. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe it is meant to be A minor, but it doesn't sound that way to me. Let's have a listen. Because we've had so much A7 there, that's kind of prepared a key change. Yeah, that does sounds wrong, right? And then D/A. Okay, D D D D. So when you're realizing Partimento, you should look out for things that look a bit boring. So things that are half notes or repeated notes like that. That's an opportunity to do something else over the top of them. Right, natural 6. Okay, so this is telling us that something. So that C underneath the E there has to be natural. So that makes it an A minor /E chord. Okay? Right? Because what am I talking about? Sorry, beg your pardon. It's a 6/3 chord, so it needs to be first inversion. So you go E, G, E, G, and the 6th is C. E, G, C, which makes it a C major chord. So this is actually C/E. Whoops. There we go. Lovely. 6/5, that's a 6th chord. As we understand it in jazz, 6th chord. So that'll be in this key. I think we're doing what's that going to be? Ooh, 6/5 chord on the F sharp that will be a first inversion dominant seventh. That's going to be D7 slash F sharp. Sorry, a lot of these things might seem a little bit hard to understand at first. A lot of it is just experience. And then G. And then we've got a lot of stuff that looks like the beginning again. D7 slash A. G slash B. 6/3 chord on the C. Okay, so what does that give us? That gives us C, that gives us E, and the sixth is A. So that's actually an A minor chord on C. First inversion A minor. There you go. Pop that in. Okay. And now going on, D, there. That's our friend C over E. So you can see, like, you can just start to popularize things. Populate things, sorry, not popularize. Populate things very quickly, just doing stuff that you've already done. Oh, look, it's the opening again. Okay, fine, nick that then. But we've got a new type of chord here, which is 6/5, so that's a sixth chord. This will be a C6 in this case. Sorry, it's the limitations of the chord symbol system means that sometimes sixth chords aren't written as sixth chords. You could write that as A minor slash C, for instance, you know. And then we have this long cadence. So this is something I want to. This is a long cadence, and it goes 5/3, 6/4, 5/4. That's a sus4 chord, right? 5/3, 8, 5/3, and we do what's known as a perfect authentic cadence. And what that means in English is that we have to finish with the top voice on the G. The authentic bit comes from the fact that it's, you know, D, G, it's this. Okay? And that's the way that I think mostly pieces of music would finish in this era, is with big fat cadence like that going to the final chord like that. And a ya da 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 in the top voice, okay? In practice, how it works with this gubbin's ear is that actually, start with the D, and we end with the D. Misses. Okay, and that 6/4 chord is actually G slash D. We put that underneath, pop that in there. And then the last one is going to be our friend D sus4, the hippie's favourite. Let's put that in there. God, that's quite hard to do. That's quite hard to do. He hasn't given us a lot of room to put our chord symbols in, has he? What was Fenaroli thinking? There we go. Oh, okay. Really sorry about that. That's a hot mess, but hopefully, maybe I can make it. Can I make it smaller? Should we make it smaller? Ooh, down it goes. Let's do that one as well. Hopefully this doesn't mean the world's most boring thing ever, but so these sorts of things will go together, right? When you see like cadences where it's like a D, like a 5/1 like this, you'll do something like this most of the time, and flipping it. Okay, look, I'm just going to leave it like that, right? Okay, so it goes like this. D. And there you go, there's a nice classical cadence for you. Let me try playing through the whole thing without mucking it up too much. So this is dead simple. A little bit of arpeggiation, not much going on in this piece. This is the sort of, but hopefully it'll sound nice. This is the kind of very basic level Partimento realization which you might want to start doing as a beginner. So what am I doing? Let's try that again. Oops, excuse me. Boring bit. And then. Whoops. I usually like to put a D7 at the end there, just before the G chord. Yeah, so very simple. You might also want to experiment with just doing like just like a two-part thing. And then boom. So you want to be careful about doubling the thirds on like major chords generally. You don't want to have an F sharp on top there. So, sorry, and then maybe keep on the A, and then back to D, I think, on the top voice there. How do we do this? And then I like a D, yeah. I like the D on top there, as it were. It's a very basic kind of thing. That would be a great first step. You're really just playing block chords and sort of melodies, and of course you can embellish the melodies if you're able to. And then maybe this one be? Sorry. And so on, right? Anyway, I hope you find it interesting and helpful, and thanks for watching. Let me know any comments you might have below.